The New York Giants win. Wow, victory, baby, victory. We finally win the first game of the season. It's been a long time since that's happened. Welcome to another episode of the Giant Take Podcast. Welcome to our first recap of the 2022 regular season. New York Giants win over the Tennessee Titans. Your final score, 21-20. My name is Josh, and I'm joined by my friend, my co-host, Alex, and we are here to break this one all down for you right now. Super exciting game. Came all the way down to the end. And Alex, we're going to talk about all of it, but I just want to get this off my chest right now. We went into this game at halftime thinking this is going to be the same old goddamn Giants that we see every year, who go 3 and out, who punt the ball, who can't play defense. And the Giants, whatever the hell happened during that halftime talk, don't know if it was a player. Don't know if it was the new head coach, Brian Daboll. But whatever the hell happened in that locker room, it showed on the field in that second half. And this team puts in effort. This team is brand new. I don't care if players are returning from last year. This isn't the same team as last year. You're not seeing a team under head coach Joe Judge go out there, score that many points that quickly, has Saquon Barkley putting up 170-yard games. Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, Mike Kafka, whatever it is, this front office, you can tell they're making a difference. Alex, how are you?
I just can't stop smiling. My voice is gone a little bit. Just a quick disclaimer because, well, I was screaming the whole time. And I'm sure Josh was as well, but I just can't stop smiling. My face is just a permanent smile. And I'm really, really happy about it. The Giants winning a game for the first time, it feels like in 20 years. Even though that's longer than I've been alive, but it feels like the Giants have not won a game in a really long time. The end of last year was painful. It's been a lot of painful rides over the past few years. And to be honest, Giants fans, we deserved it. Other Giants fans, all Giants fans, everyone deserved it to finally get a win on opening night, finally be over 500 for the first time in, I don't even know how long, forever. And it's crazy.
I believe it's the first time the New York Giants have been over 500 since I want to say 2016.
My God, which is it's nuts. And this was, the Titans, they may have gotten weaker over the off season, but they're still a great team and we still beat them. Did we get a little lucky at the end with the missed field goal? Yes. But of course, the game's about luck, to be honest, at certain points. And we saw that throughout like the 1:00 games today. That Bengals-Pittsburgh game was just nuts. People were missing field goals left and right. So I'll take a little bit of luck. The Giants won a football game. There was so many positives. There was quite a few negatives as well. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I don't even want to think about it. I just want to talk about what the Giants did well, man. This defense, really it's just Saquon Barkley. He's the man to talk about. He stepped up. He carried this team on his back. He took them from the 10-yard line to the end zone. It just felt like it was him carrying this team completely. Daniel Jones made mistakes, did not have the best of games, didn't have the worst of games, but certainly didn't have the best of games. Saquon Barkley, after that terrible injuries, his injury history recently, he's really been under a lot of criticism. And he said he was going to shut the haters up. And I think he shut the haters up today. I think Josh isn't wearing a Saquon jersey. So really disrespectful, to be honest. I'm not wearing any jersey right now because I'm a little bit too hot. So I'm going to be not wearing a jersey basically for a little while, but I got the Giants banner behind me. So that's good enough. And I'm just super happy with Saquon's performance, man. I think he knows it's make or break for him. And he really put up not just, he went for 180 whatever yards. I have it down somewhere, but he did great in the passing game. He had 6 receptions. What he did, he even had some nice blocks. I know people don't actually talk about this, but in pass protection, he actually had a couple nice blocks, which is something that Saquon Barkley doesn't usually do very well at all. So Saquon Barkley was the man today. I'm so happy to see him back after all the struggle, after all the pain. My favorite Giants player, I think like any, Giants fan, to be honest, I'm so happy for him that he's finally back and back in a role. And hopefully he can just have a crazy, crazy season like it looks like he's on track to have.
And Alex, I mean, you decided to start out with this guy, Saquon Barkley, first. So I'm happy to dig
Who
into
else are you going to start with? I mean, he was the man today.
Start out. I will continue with giving you his exact stat line. And no, I'm not wearing a Saquon Barkley jersey before we go to that. I'm wearing my man X, Xavier McKinney. That is the jersey I selected for the game today. And his name wasn't really called a lot, which honestly, as a safety in the NFL, is probably a good thing, unless they force a fumble or get an interception. If a safety's name is not getting called out too much, that means they're doing pretty good in coverage. But we don't need to talk about that right now. Let's talk about the man, Saquon Barkley. Barkley went 18 carries for 164 yards, which is about 9 yards per carry, and had a touchdown rushing. And then he had 6 catches for 30 yards, about 5 yards per catch receiving. And Barkley, Alex, you talked about all of this, right? All the things he did today. He was the player of the game today. He deserved the game ball. But what did Saquon Barkley do? Well, Brian Daboll said in his post-game press conference that, funny enough, Saquon Barkley gave him and general manager Joe Schoen a game ball. Daboll said he appreciated it, but he doesn't play the game. So that is the man and the character that is Saquon Barkley, who you want as a leader of your New York Giants team, honestly, that humble mentality and giving your head coach and general manager their new front office the game ball. That just shows how much of a nice guy and overall good human Saquon Barkley is. And I'm sure, Alex, you saw the video of Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard hugging Brian Daboll, I believe, after they successfully converted that 2-point conversion, which we will get to fully later. We're going to go through this in chronological order. That is the way we do these recaps. If you're new, and if you're returning, we appreciate you coming back. But
well, not in this case, because it was just too exciting. We had to talk about Saquon first.
Well, besides Saquon, we will do our very much normal chronological order, and I think that's where we'll go with right now, Alex, unless there's any super exciting things you need to get off your chest right at this moment.
I'm just gonna say I'm proud of this team, man. I think we're heading in a good direction. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself yet because I've been disappointed too many times as a Giants fan, but it looks like a bright future, and we'll get to this in a minute. But the Giants didn't have their 2 top pass rushers today, so I mean, what could this defense do? They could improve even more with an actual pass rusher. And we'll get to that, obviously. But that was the one thing I kept thinking about. This defense played pretty good, but you have two top tier pass rushers. You're going to come back hopefully next week. This defense could be quite good.
We did, although, see the weakness of the cut that was Blake Martinez. Those linebackers did struggle in coverage today, but they did shut down the man, Derrick Henry. And yes, we'll get to all this. We
can't stop getting ahead of ourselves.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it right, Alex. And but going back to your earlier point about how this team, you've been let down too many times. I mean, we texted about it. You texted me originally game-winning field goal coming up, and how close was it?
It was
our
so
hearts
close.
Getting let down like normal, by the way. The amount of times we probably saw in the 2020 and 2021 season since we've had this podcast of teams coming down the field, hitting game-winning field goals. It's been way too often.
It must have been 6 or 7. It's been crazy.
It's been way too often, and we really saw it coming. But thank you, Bullock, for missing that one. Anyway, let's go in chronological order now. So we have, before the game even, the inactives for the day. And it started out with the confirmations of Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari being out. We knew going into it, they were long shots for playing throughout the week, not really practicing much, if at all. So they didn't play. And Darius Slayton, wide receiver for the New York Giants, wasn't even dressed. He was low on the wide receiver depth chart. He was also not a special team. He's also not a special teamer. So I guess Daboll was just no reason to have him strap up. That came to bite them, I would say, later. And we'll talk about why. Although it really seemed like from the get-go, the Giants either didn't know or had this all in mind and just confused us, because it really seemed like from the beginning of this game, they did not know how they wanted their wide receivers to look on the field. They were switching it up left and right, throwing whoever was really available out there. I feel like they were just doing rock, paper, scissors on the sideline. Whoever won would go in. It was really weird with the snaps today.
Kadarius Toney must have sucked at rock, paper, scissors. Excuse me.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know what was going on there. And like I said, I don't know if that was a kind of during the game decision, or before then they like told all the wide receivers, or they had the plan of we're just going to mix and match and just see how it goes. But yes, we will talk about Kadarius Toney as well because he did not get that many snaps today. All right, so let's go into the game a little bit. Giants start extremely slow on offense in the first half, including many 3-and-outs, punts. Yes, it was a lot. We saw the Scottish, oh no.
Hammer.
Thank you. Scottish hammer a lot of times today. And Jamie Gillen was pretty freaking good punting the ball.
He was great today.
Yeah. Even though we've gotten all these, like when he got signed, he wasn't very good, but better than Riley Dixon was last year so far. I'll tell you that much. But just, yeah, a bunch of punts. And then we have the Daniel Jones strip, which we'll get to in a little bit. Alex, you can take over.
Yeah, in terms of the offense, it just started off slow. The offensive line could not block for their lives in terms of pass protection. I mean, if you looked at the offensive line in terms of what they did in the run blocking game, it was superb. They were look like a top tier run blocking unit, especially when Azudu was in instead of Bredesen. But in pass protection, they just looked lost. Evan Neal definitely did not have a great game tonight. Even Andrew Thomas had a couple slip ups, and Ben Bredesen, Mark Lewinsky, John Feliciano, those interior guys got absolutely bullied by the Titans defensive line. So that was definitely concerning in the pass protection aspect of the offensive line. So we'll have to see how that progresses throughout the season. I think they can only get better. I don't think they can get worse as they gel together more and more throughout the season. But Jamie Gillen, I want to get back to the punts. He had great punts, but our coverage just couldn't catch up to the punts. He outkicked the coverage. And basically our coverage just could not tackle the returners. They obviously had that one really good play, which we'll talk about a little bit later, where the guy had the muff punt, but it seemed like they were just like 40 yards away from the returner once the ball was caught. So that definitely was not great. And then even on kickoffs, there was some bad kickoff coverage as well. So special teams needs work. Even the extra point after the first touchdown that we mishandled or whatever happened, the long snapper, there needs to be some special teams work. I think that's going to be the main focus this week at practice, if I were to guess. But yeah, Jamie Gillen certainly looked very good. Graham Gano, we didn't see much of, solid as always, but special teams coverage definitely needs some work. And that'll definitely be something that Dable's probably going to put some emphasis on in practice this week.
Yeah, Alex, I agree with you. Obviously we kind of put this down together here that wasn't very successful. The New York Giants were when it came to the deal today of special teams, but it did get better as the game went along. And you said that, you alluded to it already, and I won't do it anymore. We'll just keep going on here. So the next con, we're kind of going through the cons first, I would say, and then we get to the positivity of this game, because you can always go through negatives too. During wins, you got to address both sides of things. And that was, yes, the linebackers. What team needs Blake Martinez? This team right here, the one who lost Blake Martinez, who ended up cutting him. And the big decision that we had last week comes kind of to bite us in the butt here when it came to guys getting open, especially Dontrell Hilliard, right? Who in the receiving game had 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 61 yards.
He tore us apart. Yeah.
He's the backup running back to Derrick Henry, who honestly, I'm not going to lie, didn't even hear of his name until today. He did nothing in the run game. And Derrick Henry also was pretty contained, 21 carries for 82 yards, which is for Derrick Henry to only have 80 yards in a game and not make the Giants really look silly is a big deal. I think he only made the Giants look silly on one play when he had like a pretty good stiff arm, but it wasn't even that big of a deal because he ended up getting dragged to the ground by that Giants, whoever got stiff arm on that play.
I mean, Tay Crowder popped him. We remember that.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to go to
Tay Crawford.
Tay Crawford as I literally yelled that, by the way, as former general manager of the Giants, Dave Gettleman called him by mistake. But anyway, Tay Crowder, yes, usually it's the opposite, but Tay Crowder put him on his ass. Wow, what a hit by Crowder. I think Derrick Henry got a little bit of a taste of his own medicine with that one. So that was for once,
cool. Yeah.
So Alex, I mean, now you look to the linebackers. It was Austin Calitro. It was Micah McFadden. It was Tay Crowder. I would say the most consistent one being the starter there, Tay Crowder. And then, there was some stuff against Calitro. Calitro got a call against him, I believe, for defensive holding. And I was like, that's a rookie mistake. and McFadden got some playing time in there. I think it's going to be this way all season. They cut a linebacker for a reason because it seems like they really want to develop that position with McFadden and with Calitro. After that point, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think it's really all about developing these young guys this year. And that is why they cut Blake Martinez, not just the caps reason.
I look at it, Austin Calitro got a ton more snaps than Micah McFadden did, by the way. Austin Calitro was not very good today. He in pass coverage, it just looked like he couldn't keep up. I mean, Tay Crowder can't. The problem with having Tay Crowder and Austin Calitro on the field at the same time is that they're both not athletic linebackers. In today's modern day NFL, you need guys who can run from sideline to sideline, and neither of those guys can do it. We saw with Hilliard, right? On his touchdowns, Tay Crowder was on him, but he just couldn't keep up because Tay Crowder's just he's not that guy who's going to be able to run from sideline to sideline. He's not your Isaiah Simmons or even like a Roquan Smith or someone like that. He just doesn't have that skill set. Not to say that Blake Martinez did either, but he had the anticipation skills that he was able to make up for that lack of athleticism. If from my vantage point, at least, you can't have Tay Crowder and Austin Calitro on the field at the same time. It doesn't work. At least Micah McFadden has a slightly more athleticism, at least in my opinion. It's tough to watch because these running backs, these tight ends, they're just running free. So they need to sort something out there because Austin Calitro, he looked great in preseason, but I think in his first game with the big boys, you could say, he didn't look as great. And Tay Crowder, I think Tay Crowder is a solid linebacker, but he needs to play alongside someone who's more athletic. And that's really what I think they need. Not that necessarily Blake Martinez is that solution either, because I don't think he's the most athletic, but you need more of a modern day linebacker to pair with Tay Crowder.
All right. So now we did the negatives on the defense. I think we should give them some credit here and did say, and luckily we can say that, Alex, I would say then going to your point about the modern day offense being pass heavy. Luckily, we were in the best case scenario here that the Tennessee Titans offense is run heavy. So, and Wink Martindale's defense is able to stop that and do a great job of doing that. Besides a couple of touchdowns, they only let up 20 points against this team, which I guess is a lot for a team that's a run heavy team. But the two plays were really the same type of, receiving touchdowns for, I already forgot his name, Dontre Hilliard. So let's give credit where credit's due. And Wink Martindale's defense kept the Giants in this game. The entire first half, besides the one touchdown, I think it was only one in the first half, and then it was 2 field goals because I think they were up 13-0 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just the one touchdown. Besides that, all the other drives, they were able to stop them.
Yeah.
Forcing the field goals or forcing the punts.
Go
ahead.
Sorry. What I would say on defense is overall, you'll see when Ojulari and Thibodeau come back. I think that defensive line, you got Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Thibodeau, Aziz. Then you got guys like Zimenez who can maybe make a few plays. You got Quincy Roche on the practice squad. You got Jihad Ward. I think that defensive line is pretty much set. Safeties are pretty good. Julian Love and McKinney, I think, are a pretty solid pairing. And then you could bring in, guys like Jason Pinnock, et cetera, who I think can do the job. Really, for me, I think the cornerback position and the middle linebacker position are things that either the Giants are going to have to bring someone in or coach up some of these players because that's the clear weak spots on the defense. I don't think the offense, to be honest, has that same glowing weak spot compared to the defense. I think middle linebacker, but more so corner is such a glaring, to be honest, the Titans, right? Besides Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, rookie first NFL game, the Titans don't have the strongest receiving core, right? So we didn't see that, that strain that could be put on our corners, like against a team like the Cowboys or a team like the Bengals, where they have 3, 4, 5 great wide receivers. It's certainly going to be a struggle down the road to see how Wink Martindale sets up these corners.
All right, so we talked about the defense. Let's shift to the offense and what?
No, I think you're just done with me talking now.
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it flowing
Trying to
here.
move it along. I
I
get
want to
that.
make sure we get to everything and we don't have this episode go over an hour. As excited as we are, not everyone is excited to listen to us for over an hour. So
That's true.
let's keep it moving here, and we can shift towards the offense and their struggles before we get to their positive aspects on this game. And that starts out with Kadarius Toney. A real question mark in this game, only had 2 rushes for 23 yards. That's right, a wide receiver with only 2 rushes. Wasn't really used today at all. I don't know if there was a fight. There was something we don't know about that might have happened with the coaches. That could very well be true. I don't know if he wasn't feeling up to 100%. As we know, Kadarius Toney and his injury struggles has been a problem since last season. So I don't know. I mean, I actually asked a question this morning in the Talking Giants like pregame live stream. Is Kadarius Toney 100% fully healthy? Because I thought he was. He wasn't on the injury report. From what we saw today, though, maybe he was 100% healthy, but he wasn't 100% liked by the Giants team. So he only came out there for the plays that were kind of like specialty plays. He came out there for the play that he was supposed to throw deep, but unfortunately the other wide receivers were covered. As we know, quarterback in high school, it looks like maybe the Giants will use him in that position once or twice this year. They tried it today, didn't work out. He actually did a very, I guess, intuitive move to not throw the ball and get, risk throwing an interception, instead cut left. And I was actually able to gain a few yards on that one. He also did have a first down run, I believe. But besides that, not really out there at all. A lot of Giants fans were complaining at halftime. Let me see Kadarius Toney more. It ended up working out in the end of things, but we'll have to see if we see more from him next week and why he wasn't out there. And I think, unfortunately, we are recording during the press conferences, so I don't know if Dable was asked that question or if he answered. I assume not, because there's bigger and better things to ask him, which makes sense. But I'm sure we'll get that answer. If we don't, then we'll have to just see what happens next week. But that was the first of what? Only, I think, 2 really big nope, there were a few. There's like 3 negatives that we had here for the offense, but that's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a negative in terms of the injuries, Wan'Dale Robinson went out of the game with a knee injury. He was out the whole game. When license plate guy, he posted this on Twitter, he asked him like, "Oh, is it bad?" And he said, "It's not bad." So take that for what you will, I guess. I know Wan'Dale is probably not a doctor, so I don't think he knows, but he does know his own body. So I'm sure he knows that it's not awful. So that's good.
Just remember, Alex, he didn't miss the entire game. He came in for 1 play for 5 yards and then magically disappeared after that because of the injury. So I guess it happened on that play specifically, but it was literally the saying "one and done" that I'm sure you've heard before that defined his day today.
Yeah, certainly. So hopefully it's better. He'll be better and back next week. If not, back very soon. I kind of mentioned the offensive line struggles already. Daniel Jones, he got a strip sack. That wasn't really his fault. Josh Azudu was beat badly. He probably got sacked 5 or 6 times. I don't know how many times he got sacked, but it was a lot. Some of them, to be fair, he ran into a little bit, Daniel Jones, but a lot of it was just the O-line. Mark Lewinsky got beat a couple times. Neal got beat multiple times. Azudu, Bredesen, those guys got beat, constantly, it seemed like. I think this offensive line needs time to gel and pass protection. It was kind of weird because you saw different plays. We saw different plays with Azudu at left guard and different plays with Bredesen. So I think you're going to have to see like, what is the offensive line actually going to look like? As we get deeper and deeper into the season, what's going to be that starting group? Is Shane Lemieux going to come back into the fold, and is he going to be the starter? That's all things we got to see. But, I personally think it's going to be a rough couple weeks, I think, for the O-line as we continue through the beginning of the season. And I think they are going to improve. So I wouldn't start worrying, not being able to sleep at night quite yet. I'll let you know when you can't sleep at night. Okay. When it's really bad and Daniel Jones getting sacked 12 times, then I'll say this, and then I'll say so. But I think so far, not great, but I think there's improvement that is going to come soon.
And Alex, I think what kind of showed how bad that offensive line was in the first half, I kept on seeing tweets every commercial break saying Bredesen's going to get this one. Actually, they changed it on the second offensive drive. It's going to be Azudu taking the place of Bredesen. Oh, all right. It's going to be Azudu's back for another one. Literally those first 4 offensive drives, I want to say, they switch between Bredesen and Azudu, if I'm correct, each drive, and a different offensive lineman each time, obviously showing that something wasn't working. You don't really see that with other teams in the NFL. They're not switching their offensive lineman every single drive. So they tried it out eventually in the second half.
The Joe Judge special to do that, but he switched the whole O-line actually, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah. But anyway, it eventually did click and it worked out in the second half. And let's get to that now. Let's get to the exciting and fun part and start out with Saquon Barkley, which we already talked about already. So I said already like twice.
So we're not going to start out with that because we already talked about it.
No, I mean, I do because I actually have a quote from Saquon from his press conference, but I just wanted to say that there was a little bit of a scare from him. This is the one negative here because we're going to just keep going with the negatives. Is that
the fumble?
Yeah, the ball punched out from the back. Oh my! I was jumping with Saquon. Whoa! Okay, we're okay. It went out of bounds. It got there's a very scary moment from Giants fans on that big rush of whatever it was, 60 plus yards. Great job by Saquon there. It wasn't even his fault, though. I mean, he was looking upfield because there, I think, was a safety in front of him that he was going to try and maneuver past him, sure. And then behind him was a player who knocked the ball right out of his hands, punched it out. A great intuitive play by that defender. But anyway, let's talk about Saquon Barkley in the way that he mentioned Dable in his press conference. So when asked about Brian Dable, he said, quote, "He's a man of his word. He said he's going to put the game in the players' hands." And I guess Brian Dable, Saquon Barkley took a quick look at each other, signaled what they're going to do, and that was going for two. And Saquon said the words, not going to say the first one. I'm just going to go F, yeah. And that is kind of how they decided to go for two there. So I thought that was pretty funny and also super cool about how Saquon addresses his new head coach. All right, let's go to the next thing here. I guess that can be Daniel Jones, right? In the first half, we were like, oh, Daniel Jones back to his same old, right? They're not getting some passes, getting the sack, obviously, whatever. Daniel Jones, overall, game was not that bad. I think other people are going to say because of the interception too, they're going to make comments. That was bad. That was completely his fault. That was completely his fault. Overall, looking at a stat line, though, he had a good game. And we know that Daniel Jones is technically one of the best. I still don't know how the stat exists, but the times he throws deep, somehow Daniel Jones is one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. You cannot believe me, but look up the stats. He's literally, for some reason, like one of the top 5 quarterbacks when it comes to throwing deep.
It's definitely fake stats.
No, it's real, man. I mean, look it up. And he did it again today. He proved it with that throw to Darius Slayton, to Sterling Shepard. Daniel Jones, the deep 65, I think it was 66-yard completion to Sterling Shepard for the touchdown. Yeah, that was super exciting, super fun. And I guess let's talk about the pick right now. And let's go to that. Yeah, so the New York Giants picked up a muff punt, but can't capitalize in the red zone as Jones only looks towards Saquon Barkley in the end zone. Barkley, the entire play was covered, but Jones wanted to hit him back shoulder and ends up throwing it right in, I want to say, Byrd's hands. Kevin Byrd, I think is his full name. And he ends up with the interception there. And then Jones, we didn't really see this with Joe Judge, gets a mouthful from head coach Brian Dable.
And he deserved it, man. He was staring at Saquon the whole time. He was just staring like this. Like anybody with a brain could see where he was going.
I want to just clear up because now I know who. Amani Hooker got the pick. Anyway, okay. Kevin Byrd is a player on the Titans who did get a few tackles today, but it was not him who made the pick.
Yeah, just awful from Jones. I mean, there's not really anything else to say. It was just awful. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. I'm not going to analyze it. It was just bad. It was something that he needs to work on. He can't make terrible decisions like that. And as hopefully he can grow from it, but it was bad. And it was a really, really bad look. And it was a really, really bad play.
Yeah, it was, Alex. And I thought you were going to continue from there.
I have nothing else to say, man. There's nothing else to say. It was terrible.
Well, there is still more. Well, yes, on that.
On that, yeah.
Yes, no, just a bad decision making from Jones. And it's more of the same old, which I don't know if that's like, does the 200, well, let me look at his final stat line. His final stat line
he must have had like
17 for 21. That's a pretty good attempt to completion percentage. 188 yards, so a little under 200, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. So does the stat line make up for the pick?
No,
I agree.
His stat line looks a lot better than he actually played.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Let's hope he looks better. Will you be surprised if Brian Dable says in his press conference on Thursday, we're going to give Tyrod Taylor a try?
No, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I would think too. I mean, like, yeah.
No, he didn't deserve to be benched. No, he just didn't have a great. He had an okay game.
All right. So let's talk about the game-winning drive. The Giants go all the way down the field, and what do they end up doing? Well, they can go for one, right? Why not do that? And they can actually tie the game at 20 as they had as the score was 2019 at that point. The Giants offense are staying on the field. It looks like they're going to go for two. The Giants are going to go for the win here.
I almost fainted when the announcer said that.
I was shocked. This is new to me. I know, Joe Judge and his fourth down fakes where he would try and that's the most fake I would see, or the most gutsy shit I would see as a Giants fan. Excuse my language. Is the Giants lining up on fourth down? Oh no, we're gonna run the punt team on. Whoa, we almost faked you out. That's the most gutsy thing I think I saw last year. This is pretty gutsy. And in the post game, Brian Dable ended up saying, "quote Go for the win. We're going to be aggressive," and that's what you like to see and hear from your head coach. And Brian Dable has got some balls, man.
Oh
Daniel
my
Jones
God.
Takes the snap, runs right. Is he going to try and run it in? No.
He pulls a Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Yeah.
Pitches it to Saquon Barkley. Barkley running in, pushes his way in for the touchdown, throws the ball to the back. Wow. Unbelievable.
I was sweating, man. I think I'm still sweating. I don't know. It was crazy.
I'm losing my voice.
I was so nervous. I mean, my voice is gone. I'm not sure if it was the right decision or not, right? Because of course, if we didn't get it right, then he looks like we're all on Dable's. We're all asking for his head, right? But if he does make it, now he looks like a genius. So I don't know if it was the right decision. I'm not gonna say anything because let's just say like we won, so we're not gonna harp on it. But personally, would I have done it? Probably not. I think it was risky in a game that I think if you send it to overtime, you're probably still at least have a fighting chance. But hey, you take the risk. This team is not in a position where, we're going to probably make the playoffs. But who knows? But, you got to just try to win the games that are there to be won, if that makes any sense. So I understand why he did it. I'm happy he did it now, of course. And it was nice to see a Giants head coach have some guts, have some balls, and actually kind of, the Giants fans risk everything, they risk it all the time. It's good that the team risks it, if that makes any sense.
So let's fully finish this one out, Alex. The Giants then kick it off to the Tennessee Titans with a good amount of time left. Oh boy, what's about to happen here?
Not again.
All right, they go down the field. One flag call. Two flag calls. So yeah, let's just get them all the way.
Holmes is collecting them.
Let's just get all the way down the field. Yeah, let's Giants defense. How about you keep on holding guys? Let's put them in the position to win. What a great job. Ryan Tannehill ends up finding a receiver. I don't remember.
It's the guy who muffed the punt, number 18. I think it's Phillips.
Oh, okay, got it. Yep, Kyle Phillips, who ended actually with the best stat line out of any of the wide receivers, 6 catches for 66 yards. It was Kyle Phillips who we connected with on a long passing play, gets out of bounds, and puts them in a perfect field goal position on the Giants' 27-yard line. They then center it. At that
point, I'm like, we've lost. It's over.
And Dable accepted it too. He's talking to Martindale. You kind of already can tell, like you don't have to lip read to know that he's like patting Wink Martindale on the back with like one of those like snarky smiles, like, he could have had it. It was a good run today, though. We made a nice comeback, and then Bullock lines up for the field goal. And oh my goodness, Randy Bullock wide.
It looked like it was going in initially.
Oh, 100%.
And then it went wide.
Went wide right, I guess, on our television screen, which would be
wide
left.
Actually,
yeah. So it ends up going wide left. And the New York Giants win their first game of the season. Alex and I were going crazy.
Yeah. I would say this, in Nashville, man, you could hear the Giants fans chanting over the TV. We've got the best freaking fans in the world. Giants fans are the best. Okay. We're the best around, and we're lighting up all the stadiums we go to.
And I think
metaphorically, not actually.
I can say right now, I'm sure we are all back in the New York groove after that win.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, seriously. So super exciting there. And Alex, the B reporters were not lying. I mean, they could have just made the comment to make the comment saying, oh, like Giants fans are, taking over Nissan Stadium, and they could have been lying and just making jokes. No, there were a lot of Giants fans in attendance. They made their sites known, their presence known, I should say, at this game, and they were able to get the win. So now looking at one more thing here before we wrap up, and I want to talk about the injuries because we had two of them, Rondell Robinson and Nick McLeod, the defensive back, I want to say.
Had a great play on special teams.
And Nick then McLeod gets injured. So if they don't go on waivers and they have to call up two players, worst case scenario, they have to call up two players for next week, even though you said that Rondell Robinson, whatever, just go with the scenario. Two players for next week, who they taken from the practice squad and bringing up.
Roche and who else is on the practice squad? I have a list here. How about I think it would be Roche and probably a corner, maybe Moreau would be my guess.
I'm just gonna say they full on replace whoever they went with, like whoever is losing. So to replace the wide receiver, that is Rondell Robinson. It's Khalil Pimpleton, the Hard Knock star, and then replacing the defensive back, I think it's gonna be Zion Gilbert.
They're both going to be back next week, so there's no point in talking about this. We know this.
It'll be great. But anyway, yes, that's another recap. We're back. Oh, so exciting.
So good.
Giants are 1-0. We're going to have a great victory Monday tomorrow, Alex.
So happy.
We're going to be
Tomorrow's going to be a great day. Mondays are my worst day. I have the most classes. I have the most long.
I'm wearing my Giants shirt to school.
Oh, I think I might too. There we go.
We got to. All right. We'll be twinning or whatever it is tomorrow. Yeah. So exciting. No one can talk anything, Alex.
Yeah,
we won.
One can talk. Yeah,
we won.
We won.
Our Jets friend, nothing. Lost. Our Patriots friend,
50.
Nothing. Lost. We're here. We're victorious. Anyway.
Victorious. Giants forever. All right.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it. You can hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen. Go to chipitstudios.com/giant take to check out everywhere. You can follow us on Twitter at the Giant Take Pod. Same thing for TikTok and the Giant Take on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on Twitter at Joshua29, Alex on Twitter at Anorian23. And I think that's everything. Oh, if I talk too fast, you can find that in the podcast notes or description. Alex, go. Take us out.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. It's been a long ride, long wait. Giants are 1-0. We'll see you next time for a Panthers preview.